Welcome to all our listeners and viewers. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be doing some videos called Bass Impact, focusing on some of the talent, people behind the music that made an impact in bass music of all genres. But we're going to start off with Suburban Base sessions, which was my label and gave me my start. Lots of great friends and amazing artists that came through there. And one of the Suburban Base artists that fans of Subbase will need no introduction, Marvellous Cain. Welcome.
I said, Danny. What's up, people? You all good? Listen, people, let me first by say, I hope you're all staying safe. You know what I mean? Keep yourself safe. Horrible times. Keep the love out there. And let's get this music thing popping up. But remember, stay safe. Wash your hands. I have to say that.
No,
You've been good though, Dan?
Really appreciate that. That's a theme that we've been trying to push on our social medias as well. You know, we had a little chat just before we got on camera. We both lost loved ones and
yeah, hard times
and stuff. So, you know, it's a serious thing, and we do want all the fans of the label. And yeah, you know what? I don't even like to call them fans of the label. They're friends. You know, they've been engaged for so long now. Friends of the label. We want you all to stay safe. I mean, that's
family trees. Just stay safe. Don't get dropped down, please. Just keep yourself safe. But yeah, so how's life, brother?
It's so good to see you, mate. I think what the fans really need to know. I don't have a list of set questions. I just want to have a chat with you, mate. It's been a little while, and I think what the fans, the followers, the friends of the label really loved about it was that we were a crew. We were friends, hanging out, making music together, you know, and it was just a good time, right? And you had your side. I mean, we had a little Essex crew based out of the shop, and then there was you and Sponge and Monty and Pascal. Tell us about them, those guys.
Oh, mate, you'd get slaughtered with those guys there. It was just hilarious time. But we weren't just like people on label who just hung out. We were mates, you know what I mean, that hung out, and it was like a bunch of school kids getting together and giggling and just having jokes and that lot there. That's what was the good times. And I do miss a lot of them times now. You still get them. But look, we got to Zoom each other now to get them jokes.
But you take up where you kind of left off, speaking to any of those guys, any of the crew from back then. And I think...
Monty, yeah, Sponge is all right. Sponge had a little case of the corona, but God bless him, he's still here. Still harassing me in my ear holes and that lot there. He's all good. Monty's all good. Everyone's kind of, yeah, we're still here. We're still here surviving. We still keep in contact with everybody and that lot there. You might not see a man for 6 months, but the phone is always there. And the best thing about what's happened now is it's kept us everybody close now, because you don't know what's going to happen the next day with what's going on. So it's lovely to see that kind of thing. At the moment, I've heard from quite a few man them. It's been blessed, but they're all good.
You want to hear about the music as well. So like that was key to that, right? That was important to that. The fact that we were doing this because we loved it, because it was a passion. There was no cynical kind of like, you know, we're doing this.
There was nothing. You'd go out and you'd hear something and it would give you inspiration to get in the studio and make a tune, or that set you went out and done that night there. You heard someone else play a tune and you're like, boy, that sound there was bad and I want to make another tune. It was just a different kind of buzz to what it is now. Back then, man was hungry and you couldn't wait to get in studio and start making tunes, and just you was getting influence from here, there and everywhere and picking it up and then just putting something together and liking it. The buzz was lovely. It just fitted the time, fitted the label, fitted the people that was about, do you know what I mean? It was just a wicked blessing time.
And then you're making these songs with a passion, and then you come up with something that becomes like an instant classic. And we released the Cutty Ranks Limb by Limb on Suburban Base, and before that, Hitman was on IQ. Tell us about that tune. Tell us about coming up with Limb by Limb, Hitman. Like this tune just lives. It's just
it's funny.
But it was an instant classic then. You know, tell us about how that came about and what it meant to you when you heard it out.
It's funny, that one there, because to be honest, when he asked me that sample wasn't the original sample for it. That weren't the sample that I had in mind to actually put on it. It was supposed to be Babylon. A lot of the samples from the film Babylon was supposed to be the main ingredients, and it was just at that section of the tune, which if you listen to the original, you can hear it. The vocal don't come in until nearly halfway through the tune. That was at that point there where it was like, oh, it needs something there. And that's where it got. And it was just like, oh, okay. And it was bad because everyone loved it when it started. And then when the Cutty Ranks bit came in, they just went mad. And it was just like, I remember me and Sponge, I think it was Jungle Fever. And we had gone out, given a few man them dub plates. And I remember Randall shot mash up the first dat that we had. I put it in there, glitched out the front part of the dat. And he was like, oh, no, brother. But I still cut the dub plate. So we went back and got a new dat done. And who got it? Hype, Brocky, Gachet took the boob cut version with the glitch in it because he couldn't wait to get a new one. But I remember Brocky playing it at Jungle Fever, and me and Germs was there. And the tune come on, man, start rocking, and you hear it dropping, and it was like, yeah, boy, that gone true. When it got to that vocal down, Jesus Christ, when I tell you fire bust down the place, them rewind this blouse and skirting tune, and me and Sponge were like, yeah, boy, that all right, you know, that all right. Tune bust through again, Rocky start again, then tune start rolling again. The thing bust that one piece again with that vocal set in. That was it, Murderation. It done that about 6 times from me and Sponge. We look at each other now, I was like, ka-ching, God, Clark, we have something there. That was it. That was the time when we knew we had something there. Just that, for a tune to get bust 6 times. And then it was just getting me on my last fucking nerves. Sorry, pardon my language. It started to get me on my last nerves after that because it was everywhere. I mean, you can't complain. It's a big tune. And like Cutty says in it, it just can't done. Up to this day now, it not can't done. I still get people going to me, boy, can I remix that tune? We just put out 40-something remixes of the one
Wow.
Going through every genre of it because I was sick of it, Dan. At one point, it was getting a bit ridiculous that man coming to you and going, well, I've remixed your tune. Huh? Yeah, that's nice, but do you not think it would have been a bit blessed for you to say, can I remix it and this and that? And I would have bust you the real parts and see what you come up with. Nice, but you know what I mean? So we just went, let me just remix it now that no one could even think that they'd want to touch the vocal again, and remix and got literally 50, and we ended up putting out nearly 40.
That's crazy. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard it. The original, the version with the Cutty Ranks one that we put out, that I don't think I've ever heard them not get rewound. If it's getting played, it's getting rewound, right? Yeah. It was a classic from day one.
It still shocks me because when I actually go back and I listen to the original, it's like it was hardly any ingredients in it, and then the stuff that I know now, we never did none of that to the tune them, but the tune them sound bad.
There's a lot of the production, you know, our very early production on Suburban Base, it was very raw, you know, we were only just understanding like what this equipment could do, and, you know, sometimes doing it wrong, but like, it just sounded fat, you know,
bad.
No filters on it, and like the EQ was up, but it just sounded fat, you know.
No low passing, no this and no that, and then you just the bunner tune and yeah, boy, people then jamming down to the tune next day. But now you're in the studio for 12 years, he EQing everything and this and that, and it's like, sometimes you want to kill yourself. But yeah, them days, they're the best days ever. Best days ever. That tune there it was just a weird thing to see it. Even now, it's still a weird thing. Up to this day that people still go on about the tune and still play it and still talk about it. And oh yeah, you done that Hitman tune. Yeah, but that was time. I've done plenty of other tunes after that.
Another big tune you did as a Suburban Base recording artist, Dubplate Style. What a huge tune it was. And we only released it on a 10-inch vinyl with a full cover sleeve. And we made an effort in our marketing and our presentation. All the packaging was very nice, but we did it as a 10-inch as a reference to dub plates. And maybe you can explain to the uninitiated what a dub plate is, what going to Music House and JTS, cutting those plates with our peers, what that meant to us, you know?
Oh, listen, to have you lot have got it blessed at this moment. Seriously blessed how you can make a tune, bounce it, and play it that same night. Now, back for us, you didn't have none of them bounces. We had floppy disks, mate. Them floppy disks, like you're watching your phone, had plenty more memory space than them floppy disks, like 100 floppy disks for one tune. So when you got your tune and it was on that, the only way you could play it was having an acetate of it done, which is a dub plate there. And the acetate is come from when the mastering steps. So when they master the tune, they used to master it onto an acetate. Then take the acetate and make the lacquers and the stampers from that. That's how they do it. But you could play the acetate. So we used to spend money upon money for metal. When I say metal, it used to come out. The whole thing with Mandem back then is when you knew you were special, and you had the weapons now, you came out like a knight from the round table, bro. You had armor, metal, that's dub plate, metalwork, ching, ching, legs, arm, not Iron Man. To have them, you was blessed. But you'd take time, you'd spend days, weeks, sitting in Music House, waiting for your turn to cut your dub plate. But to have your dub plate and play your tune, and let alone while you're in there cutting it, you might give that tune to Ryder, Hype, Nicky Black Market, Frost, you know what I mean? Whoever might have been there, you might get your tune pushed through. It was a prized possession. I loved them, but they were heavy, and you only got a couple of plays out of things. But number one, dub plate. You had to have a dub plate. That meant a lot to you. All of that's gone. Sad things now is it's not, you just get a WAV sent to you or an MP3. Yeah, it's good, but all that communication and just having that and smell of that dub. Remember the smell of the dub plate, man. It smelled wicked.
Anyone that don't know it, there's such a distinctive smell to an acetate, what we call a dub plate. You know, then people that like that smell of a petrol station. It's same kind of
had that distinct. Yeah, you know, like when you unbox your brand new kicks and you're like, yeah, boy, that smelled there. A dub plate had that brand new car.
And us guys
brand new car
in the scene just like knew that smell and knew there was probably something special. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And it was a special thing to have. It was a very special thing to have, and a thing to test your tunes.
Yeah.
So you could just cut it and play it and see how the crowd reacts to it, and go back and then make your changes now to your tune. That was what we do now, is by bouncing quick master or limit, and then play it out and see how it fits, and then go back and tweak what we need to tweak from that there.
So after Dubplate Style, we made some albums on Suburban Base. At that time, albums weren't really a format that kind of worked in that scene. You know, it was all about singles. I think now in the streaming world, an album is probably a much better format because you want to get that longer engagement. You want to get those streams. But back then, making an album for an artist was actually quite unusual, and we only did a few, and you were one of the artists that made an album for Suburban Base with Gun Talk, which had a lot of featured artists. We did the deal with a couple of reggae labels. And big up Chris from Fashion. Yeah, Chris from Fashion. I think there's some Jetstar stuff and Splits and Pieces. So a lot of fashion stuff. So tell us about that album, and like, you know, I kind of feel because an album wasn't such a typical format at that time, there's some real gems on there that have probably gone missed and a little bit under the radar. Some very good stuff on there.
Plenty. I think there's plenty of stuff like to do that at my time, and what was going on was bad. It was like, well, I was a youngster. I was a young fuck, man. The man them never had really good money. So when people are there, you're getting things, and then you're going out to America and you get to meet these artists and then that lot there, and they're telling you can remix this and that. It's like, wow. Because most man were just taking the samples like we did originally.
Gotta clear them. You know, that's how we can stand the test of time. Let's try and do things proper, you know?
That's it. do it
But
properly now. Yeah.
doing a whole album and like permission and cleared samples, but I say, I mean, there's some gems on there that I just think people missed because people weren't checking for albums at that time, you know?
Yes, they weren't. And then we did hold down quite a lot of tunes for a single release. You kind of let them off to certain people, but because we did that, we held down quite a lot of the tunes and only gave out certain bits and pieces to a few people. So tunes did get lost, and then you would find back in the day as well, people would rather buy the sampler with the DJ, especially everyone was a DJ back then. They'd rather have the sampler that had a couple of the tracks on it, and then you had the problem with if it was pressed to vinyl, you couldn't really play that out on a set because techniques used to feed back, and with it being cut so short, it wouldn't do what it does. But the CD market was brilliant because it got it to another like listener group. Do you know what I mean? People that didn't actually buy records, they just bought CDs, so they would buy it and listen to it and that lot there. But now there's a good few tracks on there that should get redone.
Did that reached like a bigger market then, and you know, you got an album out, you got a couple of, I mean, this genuine hits.
You got the reggae market. It crossed more a good deal to the reggae market there, because them man really didn't really like us at that point there, innit? Because we was just doing what we were doing that lot there. But that there, it got to them because they started to. Before I remember I don't like them tuned in with them fast beats, but as soon as they heard a vocalist that they knew was doing reggae and they're on a jungle tune and the bass line and the breaks are kind of coming from reggae, them started to appreciate it now, and now they love it. Reggae, the Rastaman, them love jungle.
It's important that it's official and it was cleared.
Yeah, you know? That was number one. It crossed the borders now.
So what did that do to you in your career? I mean, like, was you DJing more or producing more? You saw an uplift in like live or, you know?
We was doing it all round, went kind of crazy, really and truly. I just remember being out in Los Angeles nearly every month, coming out there, and the work was busy as hell out here at that time. It was sort of like bewildering. You were just kind of like, wow, every weekend you was out, and then you're just flying off here and flying off there, and studio work, sitting in the studio getting a bloody migraine most of the time. when you got someone who falls asleep and it wakes up at a bass line, yeah, that bass sounds good, and then straight back to sleep again. Yeah, that was a regular thing there. That was hard. Some of the best memories I can ever have. It's good, but I've done the work, and it's now to just let the youngers take their time and just keep giving them what they want.
And so tell us, like, you know, what you've done since then, or what you're doing now, what you've done with Yard Rock label.
We went in, had a look back. Well, what year was it now? Boy, it must have been about 2016. Me and Kenny, 2016 or 2014, I think it might have been 2014, but me and Kenny got a booking for Switzerland. So that the jungle thing was kind of bouncing about. There was a few man doing things like Benny Page, Serial Killers. I remember them asking me to do like a remix of Hitman. And I said, yeah, go true, you sure? And they'd done a couple of mixes. So there was a couple of man them bouncing out, doing some good little jungle. So me and Kenny went out to Switzerland. I played an old school set, and Kenny played old school but new, dropped in a few kind of newer bits and that. And I'm like, boy, do you reckon they're going to have it with the jungle? I said, when I come back, I might make a move, you know what I mean? So came back, thought about what I can do. So I took the two labels, Runnings and IQ, put them together and give them a new name. So we called it Yard Rock. That took us ages, but I was banging my head to find something that would incorporate everything. So then we just started back again.
That was a question I wanted to ask. Why didn't you just bring it back as Runnings? Because the label had in the 90s, whatever, like you felt it was like, let's reinvent this. It's like, you know.
To be honest with you, because it was the two labels that were there, the IQ and the Runnings, it was just like easier to just put the both of them together and then give them a sub name. But eventually I did want to move off the sub name, move off the other names and then keep it just as yard rock, which is what we have. We done then branded it more as yard rock. Yeah. So the whole lot comes under one banner kind of thing. And yeah, we done a couple of remixed the Hitman, and we had Blade Runner do it, but never told anybody. Just kept it a secret. Only me and him had it. I completely forgot all about it now. And then we dropped that, the first release, top secret. It went crazy. I couldn't believe how crazy it was. And then we just followed up with release after release after release after release after release. And then sort of like packed a few together. Then sort of like come up with a Hitman album. That was the next thing, because I was still getting the requests and people saying they're remixing it. So we done the Hitman album, and yeah, we're doing all right. It's nice to get what we're doing. It's good. We kind of moved more onto a bit of drum and bassy, whatever. As long as it's dance floor, that's what we're putting out at the moment.
And so what do you think about, you know, the current drum and bass sound and what's going on now, how it's evolved? Do you think like some of the youngers even have an awareness of the foundations that, you know, were laid back then, you know?
Yeah, you'll be surprised. You'll be very surprised how some of these are clued up, because I was very surprised that youngers even know me, and they do, because you're talking about that youngers, their dad or uncle or whatever used to be playing them tunes there, and they know them kind of tunes. They know their backgrounds on who's current and who's foundation, more or less. So now with a label like Suburban Base, it's ultimate foundation. You don't know that. You can't get any more than that. That's one of the founding labels there that was running this music back in the day.
Yeah, that's nice to hear, man. It's nice for you to say. So you coming back home? You're gonna do something for an evolution of Suburban Base?
Yeah, boy. Of course. Yeah? Of course we can.
Tell me, what are you thinking? What's the idea? Where are we taking it?
You see me now, me and you are hip hop man there. Yeah. I know you like a bit of hip hop. This besides mine, because I see you got a bad man. What's that t-shirt you got there?
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
My fashion stayed in the 90s, and now it's retro and cool. It's caught up with me. Do you know what I mean?
That's me. I've been banging out the old school hip hop kind of bit. It's been killing me, and the old school funk and some like disco, all them tunes that influenced them, man, like Tribe Called Quest and Most Def and all them kind of things there. So you'll probably get something that's hip hoppy. It's got hip hop, not badly like hip hop, but you know there's going to be some hip hop song.
I think that was us right at the start, because I mean, you know, when we started, there was no drum and bass, there was no jungle.
You're right.
It didn't exist. We were part of that evolution, right? And we were like coming into the rave scene as hip hop. Like we had influence from hip hop, from soul funk, from reggae, obviously, and bringing those elements into the rave scene, and that's how it evolved. So there wasn't a kind of guideline to this is what drum and bass is, this is what jungle is. We had to be part of moving that forward.
It was just what music we like. I always explain it to them youngers now, is it was like a pot of gumbo. You would throw in some soul, you would throw in some house where we got the beat, then we throw in a bit of hip hop where we'd take the drums from, and a bass line from some reggae in there, and you'd stir all the strings from something that you wouldn't even expect to have, and mix that all up, and that's what we was making. It just so happened that each, like closed the seasons, things kind of got named. That's when the genre of the names came out, roughly towards the sound of what that style of music was coming out. Because you remember all the dark side stuff that hit before jungle. When you looked on Johnny Jungle and Dark Stranger and all of them tunes, it was dark sidey music at that top point there, weren't it now? And then straight after that, you had a couple of raggery bass lines go into it, and then a few more vocals, ragga vocals come into it. Then the jungle came in now. So yeah, I don't know, boy. I don't know. Yeah, I'll just have to go in the lab, Dad.
Do it.
And See what happens.
I think we're teasing people, but you know, this is going to happen. This is going to be exciting. We're going to see something new from Marvellous Cain, and he's coming back home, and he's going to do something special for Suburban Base. We've had this conversation. We believe it's going to be an evolution. It's going to be, this is what Suburban Base would have sounded like if it never went away. You know, we were never about, you know, my career's moved forward and done 4 albums and all the things I've been doing since. It was never about being like, oh, we're old school. So for us, I think, you know, and for you as a creative, we got to do something that is still pushing forward. Yeah,
it's always about looking forward. You can't look back all the time. It's no good looking back all the time. It's all about moving forward. You can take some elements from back and say, let me take that piece, but we have to bring it forward, and you can't make this music evolve if you're not going to evolve it. So it's an evolution of what's going to happen.
Marvellous Cain, thank you. You've always gave me some of my favourite tunes that appeared on my record label, and you know, and I think a lot of the viewers, listeners here are going to agree with that. You know, like one of my favourite artists on the label, one of my favourite people. Thank you so much.
Now Suburban Base is back. Boy, let's see where the future goes now. This is the blessings times now. It's a good time.
Thanks for listening to the Bass Impact podcast. Please subscribe for more episodes and follow Suburban Base Records on our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for updates and additional content. Thanks for your support. Tune in next time and stay safe.